Light this chalice with the spirit of gratitude, with love, generosity of spirit, and hope for our collective future. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's story from Moral Tales covers the concept of generosity. It comes to us from a very old story in the Quran. It is adapted from the Islamic tale of Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman ibn Affan was one of the very first followers of the Prophet Muhammad, who started the Muslim religion. He was a very wealthy man who was known far and wide for his generosity. In fact, he was so generous with his money and his possessions that people still tell stories about him today, more than 1,000 years later. Uthman lived in Medinah, which is in modern-day Saudi Arabia. This is a very, very dry part of the world where there isn't a lot of rainfall. One year, in the year 640 to be precise, the rains did not come and there was drought. Without any rain, the food crops withered. There were no figs on the fig trees, no olives on the olive branches. The people of Medina and all their animals were running out of food. In fact, things got so bad that the people had to eat leaves from the trees in order to survive. Without food, the people knew they would starve. You can imagine how happy the people were the day they learned that a caravan of 1,000 camels was bringing food, and it was approaching their town. Each camel was laden with food. The people began to imagine the smells that would fill their kitchens as they were cooking their favorite meals. Their mouths watered as they imagined the tastes of their favorite foods. Best of all, they imagined going to bed with full bellies for the first time in many weeks. Knowing that the caravan belonged to Uthman ibn Affan made the people rejoice even more, for they knew of his reputation for generosity. Surely he would give them a good price for the food that he had for sale. The merchants of the town also rejoiced to hear that the caravan was approaching. For months, business had been slow because there was no food to sell. The people of Medina had stopped spending money in the shops. The merchants began to imagine their shops filled with hungry people willing to spend any amount of money in order to feed their families. Knowing that the caravan belonged to Affan was not a welcome news for the merchants, however, for he had a reputation for being a very sharp businessman. Although he was fair, Uthman ibn Affan drove a very hard bargain. Nonetheless, the merchants immediately went to meet him. They wanted to buy the food from his caravan so that they could sell it in their shops. They knew that in this time of famine, they could resell the food in their shops for 2 or even 3 times the usual price, so they were ready to pay any price that he asked. Affan received all of the merchants graciously. No one was surprised, however, when he rejected their first offers. "I am afraid I cannot do business with you," he said, "for I have already received a better offer." The merchants had expected they would have to offer him more, so they did. They raised their offers again and again, but each time he declined, repeating, "I am afraid I cannot do business with you. I have already received a better offer." The merchants began to grumble among themselves. At this rate, they would barely make any money when they sold the food. Besides, they would have to charge so much for the food that the people would not be able to afford it. Perhaps his reputation for generosity had been exaggerated. By refusing the prices they offered, he was driving the price for food higher and higher. Some folks in Medina might not be able to afford the price at all. Finally, the merchants made their final offer. 5 times the value of the cargo. Surely he should accept. Who could possibly offer more? "I am sorry," Uthman responded. "I cannot do business with you. You see, I have received a better offer from Allah, from God. For Allah has said that anyone who gives away wealth in Allah's name will get back far more than he gave away." So it was that Uthman ibn Affan refused all of the money that the merchants had offered him. Instead, he gave away all of the food, carried by the 1,000 camels in the caravan. He gave it away, all in Allah's name, for free to the starving people of Medina.